You're listening to Mast Cast, an SM podcast where your hosts, Candice and Rachael, explore the complexities of living with a rare chronic disease through personal experience, patient guest stories, caregiver perspectives, insights from specialists, and updates from the research and advocacy communities, with the purpose of bringing knowledge, connection, and hope to those affected with mastocytosis and related conditions. Hi, welcome back to Mast Cast. This is Candice.
Hi, this is Rachael.
And we're here to do our first mini episode. I think I teased it at the end of our episode with Dr. Abbas, which was super exciting. And we're really excited to bring more conversations like that to you guys. But Rachael and I wanted to talk to you about our experience at the Hero Summit. So we'll get into that a little bit. But I think we both agreed that there's maybe some disclaimer.
This is a low energy day. We're both feeling it today. We're tired, and a little foggy, perhaps.
For sure. I'm having a hard time putting words together, so I feel like I'm talking extra slow, big long pauses, all that stuff, and just low energy in general and my voice. So I guess I'd say apologies for that, but I think that as we were talking about before we started, that it's kind of just our lives, and I think everybody can relate to it. So
I convinced Candice this is good representation to be able to see us like in our true form as mastocytosis patients, and not just when we're the way we want to present ourselves to the world.
Yeah, I thought it might be interesting, and maybe it's not, but we'll do it anyway, to give some context about why, and not like in great detail, but just generally like for example, for myself, I just had an extremely full day yesterday from morning to very late at night, which is unlike me. Just nonstop, and a whole lot of it was outside. And I'm in Texas, and while it's beautiful spring weather for Texas, it's still hot as hell, and I don't respond well to heat. And then I was on my feet all day, and everything hurts. My brain's moving real slow, and I'm so exhausted. I don't know what to do with myself. I definitely borrowed from the next day as far as spoons were concerned.
I think I've been having a flare-up for like the last, 6 weeks or something. There's been some stressful stuff, like life stuff going on, and then there's like, there's just like, it's like one thing after another. I guess I'm not really quite sure why I'm going to flare up, but I was hoping it was the weather shifting so that it would just like magically resolve itself when the weather stops having an identity crisis. I'm in the Northeast, and it's jumping between 30 degrees and like 75 degrees on like a daily basis, and it's all over the place. It was like 80 degrees one day, and then it was below freezing the next, like a couple of days ago or a week ago. But I actually had a pretty relaxing weekend, so I guess I don't have as much of a good excuse to be super tired, but that has never stopped my body from not cooperating. So here we are. I'm just tired today, I guess.
It happens. Yeah, we also are like literally raining pollen here, so you'll hear it in my voice as well, because I've spent so much time outside. I mean, my garden is like my happy place, but
it's gorgeous, guys. Seriously, it's like absolutely stunning. I made Candice give me a video tour.
And I put potatoes in this morning, so I've been outside all day today too. So anyway, whatever. That's that aside. Just know that between the yawns and the coughs,
I'm trying not to do it loudly,
and the throat clearing and the that's where we're at today. But all that said, I am excited nonetheless about what we're going to talk to you guys about. I wanted to kind of introduce it, and then I'll have Rachael give her thoughts as well. So for the past 3 years, Blueprint Medicines, the pharmaceutical company that makes Ayvakit, has hosted what they call the Heroes Summit. The heroes part of that aside, it's an opportunity to bring together folks in the SM community, and that's largely practitioners, specialists from all different types of specialties who have a focus in SM, or at least it's part of their focus. But it also brings community organizations, nonprofits that provide services and all that for folks with SM, and it notably, and I think most importantly, brings patient advocates to the table as well. I think Rachel's gone for the past 3 years. I've been there for the past 2. And this is the first year that we can really talk about it. And that's not any, I don't want it to sound crazy. It's just that Blueprint, as a smaller pharmaceutical company, was much more careful about their legal obligations and that sort of thing. And so they didn't want to share anything that might put them at risk or anything like that. Now that they're part of Sanofi, Sanofi has a much more liberal take on patient advocacy and that sort of thing. So I thought it was really important to talk about what Hero is and why it's special, because I think that people in the world, in our community with systemic mastocytosis, should know that this is happening. I think it's really easy to get bogged down in feeling like nobody's paying attention, like nothing's really happening, like nobody knows anything about SM. We're always out on this limb when so many issues that we run up against in our day-to-day life and especially in trying to seek care. So Heroes brings all these people together into a room for a day to really genuinely troubleshoot and generate ideas, brainstorm, and really talk about what it means to improve the lives of people living with systemic mastocytosis in lots of different ways. But I found it really impactful, and we can talk about how we feel about the impact. But Rachel, if you'd like to add anything about Heroes, since you've done it longer than I have.
It's honestly something that I'm so flattered to be a part of. And like when I started working with Blueprint, and one of the folks that we work with there, Paul, I've told him so many times how skeptical I am about corporations, and like, especially when it comes to pharma, you know, kind of like anti-corporation, whatever, a little bit. And I have just had like this series of, I've never had and not, like, every experience I've had with them has been positive. I really admire the way that they put their money where their mouth is, and that the way that they show up and care for their patients, and the way that they like really make an effort, and then also seeing things come out of these types of discussions, and like watch them really enact things. And I'm like, oh my God, like
we did that.
People are actually doing that, and like taking some of the thoughts that patients have, and other experts and folks in nonprofits, and you know, it's quite a mixed bag of who's there, and I think that's even cooler, honestly. But seeing them actually run with it, do something with that information is like I keep going to curse because I'm all excited about it. Like and I'm not sure what our policy on that one is, but I think it's really incredible. And I think the first year, I think besides the folks who were there from TMS, that I was the only patient advocate who was able to make it. And I thought it was so strange. I was like, why did they invite me? But I think that they had only started working with like a limited number of folks. And also I was within driving distance. The first one was in DC. It follows around another allergy conference. And so wherever that is where the Hero Summit is that year. And so, but I got to talk to, like, I remember sitting next to some guy from like the National Organization of Rare Diseases, and we were just like chit-chatting, and I'm like, God, this is so cool. Like, when else would I have this opportunity as a patient?
Yeah. And
I remember the first year we had a conversation. I think a doctor brought it up, and then I kind of ran with it or something. My memory is pretty fuzzy, you know, mast cell patient and all. But I remember some doctor bringing up like calling it cancer, and I was like, I spoke up and I was like, honestly, like, I know that people don't use those words because it's frightening for patients, but it's really validating to hear you say that. And I think that there's a whole lot of benefits to calling it that. Like, it would have made getting work accommodations easier, or getting disability, or getting funding and grants from sources that we might not have previously had access to. And and it turned into like a longer conversation. I don't quite remember how long, 15 minutes or so, but like, I did notice in the marketing that came out of that, and honestly, I may have nothing to do with why this happened, but like, that I did see a shift in the marketing toward more of an acknowledgement of calling it like a chronic cancer or cancer. And and because when the people doing all the advertising and continuing education use certain terms, that you start hearing it more in other places.
Absolutely.
And so I think that I've gotten help from grants from like they just changed their name. I think the Lymphoma and Leukemia Society changed their name to like Blood Cancer United. But like there was a point where they helped me with like being able to pay for medication that was really super expensive out of pocket. And you only have access to those things if you have an acknowledged blood cancer. Mm-hmm. So, and that's just like not a small example, but it's just an example of like how meaningful I think these things can be.
Well, I need to be taking notes while you're talking because I'll think of things that I want to, and then it completely leaves my brain because my brain's not working today. But
trust me, I get it.
One of the things that I've really noticed is that year over year, there are more patients there, more patient advocates there. So they're not trying to like gatekeep the information. They're really reaching out and who can attend, they want to attend. The Quad AI part, I think, is important. So it's the allergy, asthma. There's 4 A's there.
Always forget the last 2.
I know. An immunology conference. And they do it around that because so many specialists in SM are immunologists, allergists, and that sort of thing. And Blueprint presents at the conference, and so does TMS, so the Mast Cell Disease Society that also attends each Hero Summit, obviously is like kind of the premier nonprofit for SM or mast cell diseases in general. But they also attend Quad AI, so it's this really cool crossover, and we got to meet folks who are attending Quad AI. There were several new practitioners at Hero this year that I thought was interesting. One of them was the doctor from the Itch podcast, Dr. Gupta, and I think that was...
I did not make that connection.
Yeah. She's from
I just think I didn't realize it. That's cool.
And shout out to her too, because she and her co-host were kind enough to talk to me before I started this podcast, because I was kind of trying to figure out, they have a relationship with an organization, and I was just trying to figure out how all that worked. But it was really great to see the room more full instead of less, and with more patient advocates as well. And so there was a patient voice in every breakout room as we did the day. So you mentioned, you were talking about Blueprint, and I will say their commitment to advocacy, when it comes to patients is really notable. And I find it notable. I think I really realized it when last year at the end, as we were wrapping up the summit, one of the practitioners said in like kind of closing summary, he acknowledged that this is the first time he's been in something like this where there was so much representation. So not just practitioners who have a very specific point of view and it's their own, but including the nonprofit organizations and the patient perspective. And he said that no other organization that he's worked with has done that, and that he felt like it leads to meaningful change and like really meaningful conversations instead of these siloed conversations. And that really struck me. I felt even more grateful for having a voice there, and I didn't realize how special that was to do that. And I'm not saying other organizations don't do that. It was clearly notable to several of the practitioners that were there last year. So I wanted people to know that it's happening. I want folks to know who maybe aren't in this sphere of like overt public advocacy, that these things are happening, and I'm really glad we get to talk about it now, and I get to be open about it and share with other people like us that we're not being ignored. Patient voices are being prioritized, and people are being brought to the table to really troubleshoot, not just troubleshoot, but like really acknowledge
where the systems have like gaps in them that we can work together to fill, to repair, to create better systems that exist so that like patients like us get better care. They have better access to getting diagnosed more quickly. They have better access to treatments and funding and nurse navigators who might help make some of these things easier on us and like alleviate some of like the paperwork burden of being a patient.
Thank you for picking
like
up
you
that
name
thought
it
for me.
I have brain fog most of the time, so I totally feel you.
Like I want
I
to
get
say
you.
something here. No, you said it perfectly. Thank you. Yeah, so we can talk about our general takeaways, because I'll just get into really quickly some of the minutia that we're going to get into. We're going to do basically 6 more episodes after this one. The way that they do the summit, I can't remember last year how it was. If
It was different last year.
It was a little bit different, but we still had topics for each breakout session. But I think they were predetermined, maybe. So we knew what we were going to talk about, and that was based on maybe the year before. But this year, there was some pre-work done that I think you were involved in, that put together a list of 8 quote-unquote aspirations. And then we voted on the top 6 aspirations. And then in each, we had 3 breakout sessions throughout the day. And in each of those, 2 aspirations were discussed.
And the people who were
we had a lot of breakouts.
I believe
sessions.
so. I believe so. I have the schedule. It's not in front of me, but
it's over here.
But in each one of those breakout sessions, it was a combination. They had a solid mix. I think there was like 1 to 2 patients in each room. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. Perfect for podcast recording. Profit folks, physicians from a variety of backgrounds. I mean, we had I think there was a mix of I think they did a really good job, it seemed like, trying to put in people who probably wouldn't have interacted. People from, maybe that's not the right way to say it, like people who are from different fields. So we got allergy, gastroenterology, pathology, people from nonprofits, patients.
Mm-hmm. And there were folks who were purely researchers, not practitioners necessarily, who were the psychosocial side of things, who were researching that. It was really interesting. We did have people from across the spectrum of specialties, but who have a specific or vested interest in SM, or who make that their specialty. And it was nice to see some familiar faces. I think we were missing a couple folks that I would have liked to have run into again. It just kind of, it's not a revolving door because people stick around in the network, but not everybody can make it every time.
Yeah, I think there were lots, and there's some scheduling conflicts. And then I think from Blueprint, sometimes, from what it sounds like, is everybody wants to attend this, and so they have to be limited as to who gets to go each year.
I love that. It really, so we can talk a little bit about kind of our takeaway, I think, because I think the biggest thing for me and what I want our audience to know is that it was just I left really hopeful and feeling less isolated.
I think that's what I usually feel like leaving, is this, oh my God, things are actually happening. When I got diagnosed, I was convinced that there would never be anything like this, because who would want to spend all the time, money, and energy on a small group of people with a rare disease, right? And somehow we've gotten lucky enough that Blueprint and now other companies are working on developing stuff that have actually made a difference in a lot of people's lives already. And I genuinely, I got diagnosed at 21. I was convinced that I would be at least in my 60s or 70s by the time something like that ever existed, if at all. And then hearing things coming down the pipeline, or even getting to talk to people. I think the thing, and this is kind of silly, but one of the things I like most about Blueprint is having come from a corporate world type background at some point in my life, I have never seen a company where everybody genuinely seems to enjoy their jobs so much. Yeah. And I don't know why that gives me hope, but it does.
Yeah.
But also the people there are just really kind, and they're excited to talk to us, and everybody is so down to earth.
Mm-hmm. And they've been really, at least for me, I mean, because I've only been diagnosed for the past 3 years now. I keep forgetting it's been that long. I mean, I knew that advocacy was going to be part of my journey, because that's just who I am, and I've done advocacy professionally for a long time, and I just didn't know how that was going to work. And when I realized that I wanted to do more than just talk about my experiences with Avakit, and I was really looking to branch out and all of that, I knew I was going to have to move away from some of the work I was doing with them. And all I got was support and advice, and they've been great about almost mentoring me in this like other realm of advocacy. And obviously I still maintain a relationship with folks there, and I still attend their events, and that's great. But I feel like who knows where it would have taken me a lot longer to get to where I am right now, doing this podcast and having the connections to be able to bring people on and all that if it weren't for them. And we're not being sponsored by Blueprints.
No, and I know, and I'm about to say more nice things about them, and it probably sounds like, really fake.
I know. I was like,
I just genuinely like these people a lot. Like,
I know.
Like, I like most people. I'm a pretty outgoing, friendly person, but like, I genuinely have a lot of like respect for everybody that I've met through this. And not only that, and like what you were saying about them being so supportive, they've been supportive in like every way I could throw at them. I am probably not your standard human. And I like, they once recorded, they wanted to do a video of me, and they sent out like a film crew to my house, and I wanted both of them. I had a different partner. I had Adam and then a different partner at the time. But they let me have both of them in there. I made a joke about wearing this like wildly inappropriate political t-shirt. And they're like, you can go put that on if you want. And I was like, no, I think the blue shirt I'm wearing is way more appropriate. But they would have been fine with it. Like they want you to show up as you are.
Yeah.
And they support you in that. And like, I swear to God, we're not being sponsored by them.
It's really the people.
They've made a really big difference in my life.
Yeah. I mean, the company certainly enables them to do that, but the individuals that we've worked with in this patient advocacy space are truly dedicated, not just through their work with Blueprint, but the work they did before they came to Blueprint and the work they do outside of the company, and all of that are just extremely dedicated to bettering the patient experience and quality of life and all of that for people living with rare diseases. And it really shows, or living with cancer or whatever their specific area of interest. And it just really shows that individually they're just super dedicated. So I'm deeply grateful for that.
Me too. And aside from just all of the nice things I could probably keep spouting about everybody I've met through Blueprint and all the folks who work there, one of the things I think that's cool is that has been consistent through all 3 years of the Hero Summit is that there is nowhere that, at least in my experience as a patient, where I have been, where I'm around doctors and I'm talking about my mast cell disease, where my opinion felt like it mattered more. Certainly not in like an exam room, seeing my own personal doctors. Suddenly, like the dynamic that they create, especially because I'm sure for like a lot of reasons and people's availability and whatever, there's a limited number of patients in the room. And your voice really gets highlighted because of that in a way. Really like does. There's all these doctors, and
they look sure, to you, though.
Right? And they listen, and like they in a way where like when you go in to see your doctor or a doctor, there is a power dynamic inherently there, right? The doctor is the person who knows what's going on, and you are there for help. You may be advocating for yourself. You may be like a really prepared person who's like super great at advocating for yourself, but that doesn't. There's that power dynamic still exists, right? They're still the one in charge. You're still the one you're trying to like, at best explain what's happening to, at worst trying to convince them to give you what you need to like function as a person. And in these spaces, it doesn't work like that. Like, you know, doctors will go back and forth having a conversation about something. And at some point I'll be like, hey, actually, from my experience, this is what I've noticed, or what has happened here. And it's like I see their faces, like considering what I've said in this way that like we're on even footing, and even more so, maybe like my voice is even slightly more elevated.
And they're asking you questions. They're trying to get your perspective. They want to know, what is it like from your perspective. It's been great for, honestly, like for my mental health in some ways, to be able to advocate for myself in a way that like is largely inaccessible, going through the medical system the way it works, and like, but also to kind of like humanize doctors a bit too, right? Like they're just people, and like and they're working in a broken system as well. They're working in a system that doesn't give them the time, the resources,
the information, the ability to like spend the amount of time that you would really need to spend on patients as complex as we are, the ability to like go call other doctors who might have different specialties, because this disease impacts all the different systems in your body. And obviously they're probably not going to, like, as knowledgeable as they are, they're probably not going to be experts on every single part of my body. And unfortunately, mast cells don't really care that that's how our system is designed. You know, so like it's really, like, here, especially this year, like, and we're going to go more into detail about it, but like talking about some of the things that we talked about in these breakout sessions really just highlighted how much the systems in play harm both patients and doctors. And that's not something I didn't know, but it really highlighted it.
Yeah, I agree. I will say, and I think, you know, I'm very honest and I'm also very blunt. And sometimes, you know, you're talking about things that are also emotional for people who live with a chronic disease that is as complicated as SM is. And I do feel like there are occasionally, like, when you're in the room and you're being very blunt and honest or whatever, that it can come across as a criticism of the individuals in the room. And I really hope that they take away that it's not about them individually. It's about the frustrations of the system. And they have the same frustrations. And so acknowledging, like, to your point, acknowledging those same frustrations, and that overall it is a system that's broken for all of us, not just the patient experience. But there were a couple of moments where I was, you know, we're trying to work out, like, how do we work within what we're given, because that's how it is right now. And sometimes there wasn't a clear answer, but sometimes there was this, like, it's an impossible situation. You can't put more on the patient because they already are having to constantly fight for themselves through being sick all the time. They're the ones who are having to be the intermediary between 3 different companies. They don't really understand what those companies do, but somehow they all interact with their doctor's offices or their pharmacy or whatever. There's like a third party, fifth party, eighth party, whatever. You've got like so many different complicated systems in place. And now you're being asked, like, okay, well, but we need you to do this or and it's too much. But at the exact same time, it is too much to ask that of your physician as well. So, you know, you mentioned nurse navigators and these other things. Like, I think there's a space somewhere in there to alleviate the burden for everybody and to help reduce the time it takes for people to find care or even to just get diagnosed. But that's a bit of a different
I have so many ideas, but none of them are, like, plausible.
I know.
Like, what if we got rid of health insurance?
Well,
stop letting them make the decisions about our healthcare. But alas, short of overhauling that entire system, I think it was really interesting to talk with everybody about what those structural limitations look like, right? Like, there were definitely a number of times in I think almost every breakout room I was in where someone was like, well, realistically, I don't think we're going to be able to fix this insert giant problem that would take an overhauling of the entire country's medical system to even start to address, here kind of thing. But, like, someone will be like, well, what if we adjusted this part that we do, because obviously, like, pharma companies do have some money and they can put it toward those goals. They're probably not going to be able to change the way our entire system works as a whole, but, like, they can start to fill some gaps or kind of put, not maybe quite a Band-Aid, but like a really large bandage of some sort on things and make things easier for everybody, doctors and patients. Right. Something like that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think that there were some really interesting, and we're not going to talk about it in this episode because we're just really kind of introducing it more than anything, but there were some really interesting suggestions about ways that we can make direct impact now.
If only I remembered what all those were, but hopefully they'll come back to me.
I know. I was literally just, as I said
my memory
that,
is so bad. I'm like, oh no.
As I said that, I was like, oh God, am I even going to remember? I think
I should have taken better notes.
No. So I know that they have like the image. So one of the things that was really cool in these breakout sessions, just as like this was new. There was an artist in the room at the same time with these
so cool.
with these giant poster boards, and in each breakout session, under each aspiration, they were drawing out what we were discussing, and like really, I just don't know how they do it. It was really a magic trick, and it was kind of hard to focus while you're watching them, like somehow magically weave all the things you're talking about into these very simple and clear images. Yeah, that was really impressive. But I'll get photos of those boards. Oh, okay, great.
I found them on my phone. I think I have all of them.
Cool. That'll help us remember.
Totally didn't take it as notes. I'm also an artist, and I was so amazed. I was so impressed at them. Like, I've done infographics and stuff, and they were just doing like on the fly. At one point, as we're talking, and I was like so impressed. I was like, it would have taken me like 3 months to do what they did in like real time.
In real time, yeah.
I wonder if we can ask if we can share. If we are able to share the images of those, because they're so cool. I don't know if we're allowed to or not, but
I don't know. If we are, we will.
We can link them somewhere maybe. But but it was just really actually like in the middle of like switching sessions. I was like, wait, what markers are you using? And they were like, and they're fragrance free, and I like they don't smell at all. And I was like, sold. I was like, give me the name, I will buy them. And then of course I forgot immediately. But it was really cool, and it really helped capture what we were talking about in this in like such a cool visual way.
Mm-hmm. And I think they make for great notes to like remind us kind of what we were talking about and what the takeaways are. And I'm sure the folks at Blueprint have some really great notes as well. Someone was in that room taking notes and was like being diligent about what we were discussing. So I think we can probably get our hands on something like that. I can like feel my nose getting stuffier as I'm trying to talk. So
I sometimes get that when I'm having like an allergic reaction too. Like
I've been that way all day just because I've been outside. I was cleaning.
I was also outside, so if I'm sniffly, same.
I was cleaning up behind our shed, and it's right under an oak tree, and it's just like 2 inches of leaves and pollen, and it got pretty rough. Anyway, okay, so this is supposed to be a mini-sode.
Should probably cut it off now. We could talk. We're quite good at it.
Yeah. So we'll stop here. But before we stop, I wanted to read out what our aspirations were that we voted on and chose as the top 6, so that you guys know what we'll be covering going forward. And I was kind of thinking, I don't know, maybe there's somebody from those conversations who might pop in for a short episode too. Maybe that's
that'd be
something
cool.
We can do. Yeah, another patient advocate or someone from TMS or somebody I'm sure would be willing to like have a chat with us about them. But okay, so the 6 aspirations that we chose were: 1, patients have the knowledge, empowerment, and skills to confidently live with SM. 2, caregivers are recognized, supported, and empowered as vital members of the SM care team. 3, providers are confident, equipped, and supported to deliver compassionate, evidence-based care. 4, care pathways are designed so people living with SM can rapidly access coordinated care. Woo! 5, the emotional and psychosocial burden of SM is anticipated, recognized, and addressed. And 6, best practice examples of multidisciplinary care are shared, adopted, and implemented. And I think that those really, really are like the top priorities. This was a hard one to choose, and I'm sad we didn't do all 8. I know we didn't have a choice.
I think just limited amount of time, yeah.
Yeah, but the conversations around them were just really enlightening. And the idea is that those statements are aspirations. So how do we get to those aspirations? What are the barriers in our way? What are the opportunities that exist? Where can we definitely fill the gaps? And then where do we need to like dig in a little bit more and figure out figure out the real problems, and then what, if any, workarounds or pass-throughs or whatever we can create to make these things happen. And some of them are big, like that. The best practices shared, adopted, and implemented. It takes so long to implement processes.
I know.
Or new. See, I just can't think. My brain is so shot. What's the word I'm looking for? Like new ways of doing things.
I think that pretty much says it, though.
Sure.
Like new systems and
new research, new. What is wrong with me?
I think you have a mast cell disease. I'm sorry.
I think you have.
So that was a theme all through the Hero Summit. It's like both Candice and I weren't feeling 100% that day, and we just kept looking. We kept looking at each other, and Candice was like, "God, what is wrong with me?" And I was like, I was like, Candice, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think you've got like a chronic cancer or something. We just start laughing over it. Like, if you can't beat it, you might as well laugh at it. So.
100%. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's what it was. That's what it is. I feel super fortunate that I get to be at those tables and in those rooms. I think that I leave feeling like real people are seeing the real problems, and we're all working together to create solutions. And there are some really exciting solutions happening in the room that will be implemented. Like, we'll see things happen from this, just like we saw it happen from the last one, and on and on. And that's just, I want you guys to know that. I want you to know this exists, and I want you to feel hopeful and excited too.
Yeah. And I think we should. I think it's really, I think there's a lot of times I leave doctor appointments and it's hard to feel like obviously I think that there's a good chance most doctors went into what they do to take care of people and help people. And I am sure that they care. And also I know these systems that exist don't always work for patients or doctors or really anybody. And I think it's hard to leave some appointments sometimes feeling like the sense of like somebody really cares what happens to me. Mm-hmm. But I leave these meetings feeling like that. Like, these people really care, not just Blueprint, but like everybody who's in attendance. Like, these people are here because they see what we're going through and they want to help. They want to do something positive to make it better.
Oh yeah, the practitioners in the room it's
wonderful.
Incredible. Yeah. So that's that. So. We'll leave it there, and then look forward to our episodes around each of those aspirations, where we kind of share what our takeaways were, what we talked about, what was maybe frustrating about it, but what was also like really exciting and hopeful.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Mast Cast. Your hosts are not medical professionals, and nothing discussed here should be taken as medical advice. Please speak to your medical provider about any issues you're experiencing or therapies you're interested in. If you have any questions or comments, please email us at podhost@mastcastpod.com.